I worked on the Ellen show for nearly a decade. Lighting crew, stage resets. The kind of job where you see everything, but no one really sees you. That's how I got to know tWitch. He always saw the quiet people. Always took time to ask how you were doing when everyone else was just waiting for their next cue. People loved him. They still do. That's what makes this so hard. Because the truth is, the last time I saw him, not on camera, but really saw him, he wasn't smiling. He wasn't dancing. He looked like someone trapped in a role he couldn't walk away from. He said one sentence to me that night. Just one. And I haven't repeated it until now. Not because I was scared of what it meant, but because I finally understand it. And once you understand what he was trying to say, you can't unsee any of it. If you've ever believed the version of him they showed you, if you felt like something about his death never sat right, then stop scrolling, like this video. Subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you won't stay online forever. And once you hear it, you'll understand why. I wasn't close to the stars. That's not how it works when you're crew. You keep the rigging quiet, hit your marks, reset between segments. You're invisible unless something goes wrong. But tWitch wasn't like the rest of them. He noticed the people who weren't meant to be noticed, not in a fake way. He remembered names, asked about your kids, your back pain, your dog. I watched him carry the energy of that entire set when things got cold, and they got cold a lot. It was one of the last days of taping for the final season. Everyone was tired. The fake smiles weren't sticking as easily anymore. But tWitch still bounced around like it was day one. Dancing in the aisles, cracking jokes, checking in on the interns who looked like they were about to cry. I was behind the risers, resetting a light mount. We just wrapped another feel-good segment, and the producers were huddling about some social media piece. Ellen was gone already. She dipped the second her part was done, like always. But tWitch stayed behind. Just him, me, and maybe two others still tearing down. He sat on the edge of the stage for a second, shoulders hunched forward, elbows on his knees. I hadn't seen him sit like that before. No bounce, no spin, just quiet. I said something dumb like, "You good?" And he looked over and nodded, but there was something in his face. Not sadness exactly, something heavier. Like he was working through a decision and had already made it. Then he laughed, not his real laugh, but the one he used for filler on camera, and said, "One day we'll laugh about all this, if we make it out." He clapped his hands, stood up, spun once, and went back to being tWitch again. I told myself later it was just a weird moment. Everyone was stressed. Final season pressure, people nervous about what came next. But that line stuck with me, if we make it out. Back then, I thought he meant the industry, the stress, the burnout. Now I'm not so sure. Because that was the last time I saw him as himself. Before Ellen's house, before the drive, before everything cracked open. And if I'd known what he was trying to say, I might have stopped pretending everything was okay too. I'd been to Ellen's house once before. Years back, when the show was at its peak and she threw those bigger rap parties. That first time felt like stepping into a dream. Catered food, music, celebrity faces, big smiles. Everyone laughing a little too loud. But this time was different. It was smaller, more selective, not a party. Thank you gathering, as the email called it. Just a few of us from crew, some production heads, a couple writers, and a handful of people Ellen had personally invited. We were told to leave phones at the door, just like last time. The place was spotless, too spotless, like no one actually lived there. The kind of house that looks good in magazine spreads, but feels cold when you sit down. No clutter, no warmth, not even any music playing. Just the low murmur of polite conversation and the clink of glasses. People smiled, but no one really relaxed. You could feel it. The way people paused before speaking, as if scanning for what was safe to say. How they kept glancing around to see if she was listening. Ellen floated through the room like she was hosting a live segment, touching shoulders, asking questions with that tilted head smile. Are you staying in LA next year? Got anything lined up? She didn't ask like she cared. She asked like she already knew. When she got to me, she smiled like we were old friends, even though we'd barely exchanged 10 words in 10 years. You're still with us, she said, tapping her glass gently against mine. I always remember the ones who don't make noise. I nodded, said something safe, and she moved on. That's when I noticed tWitch. He was standing near the hallway entrance, half in shadow, arms crossed tight against his chest. Not engaging, not smiling. Just observing. It was strange. This was his territory. He was usually the one keeping things light, doing dumb dances with the writers, making people laugh. But tonight, he looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Like he was waiting for something. We made eye contact, and for a second, I thought he might come over. But he just gave the smallest nod, then turned and walked down the hallway, deeper into the house. I stood there holding my drink, listening to the low buzz of conversation and forced laughter, and realized something I couldn't quite name yet. It wasn't a party. It was a performance, and I had no idea who the audience was. The thing about working on a show like Ellen's is that you start to believe the performance. Not the guests, they come and go. Not the audience, they're in for a day, chasing a selfie. I mean the machine. The one that turns awkward interns into dancers, average people into viral heroes, and quiet crew into silent believers. For a long time, I didn't question it. I figured it was just the job. You smile. You stay late. You laugh even when the joke's flat. Because it's Ellen. Because it's exposure. Because nobody wants to be the one who can't take a little pressure. But around the final season, things got tighter. Lighter budgets. Heavier moods. People didn't talk openly anymore. You started seeing the same looks, long stares, quick glances, little hesitations before someone spoke. You learned to read the room fast in this business. And Ellen's rooms always had one rule: don't make her uncomfortable. Even off camera, especially off camera. I watched a junior producer get quietly removed after one meeting. No announcement, no exit email. She just stopped showing up. We found out later she'd questioned the way a segment treated a guest. Thought it was exploitative. That was it. Gone. When Ellen laughed, everyone laughed. When she frowned, the room shrank. It wasn't loud. It wasn't abusive. It was quiet pressure. The kind that rewires you slowly until you forget what normal feels like. That night at her house, it was the same. People positioned themselves near her, complimenting the food, laughing too hard at her stories. At one point, I walked past the kitchen and saw one of the assistants, a young guy, maybe 25, standing dead still at the sink, just staring into nothing. When he noticed me, he jumped and smiled, like he'd been caught sleeping. "Beautiful place, huh?" he said. "It's like perfect." It didn't sound like a compliment. It sounded like a line he'd been practicing. I kept thinking about what she'd said to me earlier. I remember the ones who don't make noise. At first, I took it as a compliment. But the more I thought about it, the more it felt like a reminder. Everyone here had learned to stay quiet. To move a certain way, smile at the right time, be useful but not visible. That's what the machine needed. And tWitch, he was the engine. The one who made it all seem effortless. But now, I was starting to wonder what it cost him to keep it running. I didn't see him again until later that night. Most of the guests were gone by then. A few of us were lingering in the back garden. Small talk, half-empty glasses, pretending not to be waiting for someone else to make the first move to leave. Ellen had disappeared inside. That always happened. She didn't do goodbyes. One minute she's the center of the room, next minute she's just gone. I wandered into the hallway to find the bathroom and nearly walked straight into tWitch. He was standing near one of the guest rooms, half lit by a hallway sconce. No shoes, just socks and a hoodie, like he hadn't meant to run into anyone. We both froze for a second. Then he smiled, but not the kind he gave on stage. It was thinner, not fake exactly, just tired. "Hey," I said, too loud for the space. He nodded. "You heading out?" "Soon." He looked past me toward the living room, then back again, like he was checking how much time he had. "Come here," he said. We stepped into the guest room. Nothing weird, just a small space with a folded bed and a window overlooking the side yard. But the second the door clicked behind us, he let out a breath I didn't know he was holding. He sat on the edge of the bed, rubbed his eyes, and said quietly, "You ever feel like this whole place isn't real anymore?" I didn't know how to answer. He kept going. "I mean, the show, the crew, this house, the way everyone acts like we're in some perfect little snow globe. But when you tap the glass, nobody hears it." He reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out a small USB drive. Held it in his hand like it was hot. "I'm leaving," he said. "Not just the show. Everything." I stared at the drive. "What's on it?" He looked at me for a long second. "If anything happens to me, just watch it. Then destroy it. Don't show it to anyone unless you're ready to burn your whole life down." I started to ask a question, but he cut me off. I shouldn't even be saying this here. We both flinched at a sound from the hallway. Laughter, high and sharp. Ellen's voice, drifting from the kitchen. He stood up fast, shoved the drive into my hand. "You never saw this. Got it." Then, in a blink, the smile was back. He opened the door, stepped out like nothing had happened, and melted into the next room. And I stood there with that cold little piece of plastic in my hand, realizing I didn't know him at all. Not real. If you're still watching, and you're thinking, he should have gone public, said something, you don't get it. People disappear for less, so if this story matters to you, like it, share it, and subscribe. Because once this part's out, I don't know how long I'll be able to keep the rest up. They said it was suicide. It hit the news just like that. Sudden, clean packaged. Stephen at tWitch boss, dead at 40. Self-inflicted gunshot wound. No foul play suspected. Just like that. No build-up. No hesitation. Like someone had the headline ready before the body hit the floor. I remember sitting in my car, parked behind the soundstage, just staring at the push notification on my phone. I didn't believe it. Not because I thought he was invincible. None of us were. But because it didn't feel like his ending. It felt delivered. Written by someone else. Ellen posted a message a few hours later. Black and white photo. He was pure light, she wrote. There was no problem he couldn't solve with a smile and a dance. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because of what she said, but because of what she didn't. She didn't mention his exhaustion, his withdrawal, the way he'd started staying late without dancing, the silence in his face the night he gave me the drive. No one did. On set, people cried. A few couldn't stop shaking. But it wasn't just grief. It was fear, confusion, guilt. Like we'd all been carrying something we didn't know how to name. People kept saying things like, he was struggling. Mental health's a silent killer. I wanted to scream. No one mentioned Ellen's house. No one mentioned what we all saw that night. The way he held his body like it wasn't his anymore. The way his eyes scanned every room like he was being hunted. And me. I said nothing. I nodded along, played my part. Because now I had something no one else did. The drive. I hadn't touched it since that night. I kept it buried in a zippered pouch inside my gear bag, wrapped in duct tape and black cloth like it might poison me. I couldn't bring myself to look at it. Not yet. Not while people were still watching. A few days after the funeral, I got a call. No name on the caller ID, just silence on the other end. Then a voice's, everything okay? Anything you want to talk about? The voice was smooth, like a customer service rep. Nothing threatening, but I knew what it was. I hung up. The next morning, someone had been through my car. Nothing taken. Just moved. Glove box cracked open, floor mats shifted. A wrapper in the passenger seat I didn't leave there. Subtle. I started to notice other things. People I used to work with stopped replying. A friend in props, who'd always texted back within minutes, suddenly went dark. One of the stage managers, someone who had hugged me at the memorial, turned cold when I passed her in the hall. Just a nod, no smile, like I was radioactive now. And maybe I was, because when you carry something like that, something someone died trying to hand you, you can't go back to normal. You start to wonder who's watching, what they know, whether Ellen ever asked about you by name, and you start to understand something tWitch knew long before he said it out loud. You don't leave quietly, not from her world. It took me 3 weeks to plug the drive in. Every day, I told myself I'd do it. Every night, I'd picture the file folders, imagine what might be inside, a suicide note maybe, some kind of confession. But deep down, I already knew it wasn't that simple. He didn't give it to me to explain his pain. He gave it to me because he wanted someone to see. And once I saw it, I'd never unsee it. It opened with a time-stamped folder, 29/20/22. Inside were short clips. Nothing flashy, no big revelations, just quiet moments. Mostly phone recordings. Sometimes just audio. Sometimes a black screen with sound. He'd been recording for years. The first video was from a production van. tWitch was sitting in the back, whispering into his phone. They're not gonna say it, but something's changed. She's different off, set now, smiles through people. Can't even look you in the eye unless she wants something. Another one showed him alone in a green room. He looked exhausted, shoulders slumped, rubbing his temples. Said the wrong thing in the meeting today. Ellen didn't even look at me. Then I got called into a side meeting with 2 producers. Let's talk about attitude. I know what that means. And then there was the sound file. You don't see anything. Just tWitch's voice, a low whisper. I tried to leave before. Back in 20. They kept me here with the family contract. Promised the world, then closed the door behind me. You think it's a show. This place is a funnel. Once you're inside, there's nowhere to go that doesn't go through her. The last file broke me. It was a single clip, unlisted, uploaded to a dummy YouTube channel, and scheduled to go live 5 years from now. In it, he's looking directly into the lens, expression blank. If you're seeing this, I'm already gone. People are gonna say I was depressed, or lost, or broken. They're gonna say I hid it well. But the truth is, I didn't hide it. You just didn't want to look. She taught all of us how to keep smiling while we drowned. That's what she does. And the worst part is, I helped her. He doesn't cry. He just blinks slowly. People think Ellen's a monster, that she blackmails people, that she's connected to Diddy or Oprah or whatever. I've heard the theories. But they're wrong. It's not that dramatic. He leans in. She doesn't need to destroy you. She just makes you destroy yourself, smiling all the way down. The screen goes black. That's it. No names. No proof. Just slow rot. The kind that happens in places where you're always performing, even when you're alone. After that, I sat in silence for hours. Not just because of what I saw, but because of how easy it would be to ignore it. To close the window, delete the folder, and pretend none of it happened. And maybe that's what everyone else had done. Maybe that's why no one ever really leaves her. Because even when you see it, even when it's all laid bare, it's still easier to believe the version where he just got tired than to face the one where she never let him stop smiling long enough to ask for help. I didn't go to the press. I didn't send the footage to TMZ or roll it out in some expose podcast. That would have been the obvious thing, the brave thing, at least on the surface. But tWitch wasn't asking for a headline. That wasn't what the drive was for. He gave it to me because I could see it. Because I already lived it. And because I know exactly what it meant. I still work in this industry. Different set now. Different faces. But the rules are the same. You smile. You stay useful. You don't say too much. People ask if I miss the Ellen days. I usually nod and say something like, big operation. Learned a lot. They don't need to know what I learned. Sometimes I wonder if Ellen ever asked about me. If she noticed I stopped showing up to wrap dinners, or that I left the crew WhatsApp quietly, without fanfare. Maybe she didn't. Maybe I was never worth that kind of attention. Or maybe noticing would have made it harder for her to pretend she's still everyone's hero. I saw her once, a few months after it all. She was giving a talk at some industry brunch. Still bright, still smiling, still leaning into the whole "be kind" thing. There was a line she used, something about how you never know what someone's going through. The room laughed. I didn't. I wanted to stand up. Wanted to say, "He told you. He showed you. And you still smiled while he fell." But I didn't. Because I knew what would happen next. I'd be the bitter ex-employee. The one trying to stay relevant. The one disrespecting a dead man's legacy. She wins either way. So I've kept quiet. Until now, not to tear her down. She built the system, yeah. But it's the rest of us who kept it running. Who looked away. Who laughed when it was easier than asking why someone was quiet, or late, or different. Twitch tried to leave with dignity. Tried to leave without setting fire to everything behind him. But maybe he should have. Maybe we all should have. And maybe I'm no different. I've watched that final video more times than I'll admit. Every time it hits me the same way. That line about destroying yourself with a smile, that's what sticks. Because that's the real horror of it. Not secret rooms or blackmail or wild conspiracies. It's not even Ellen. It's how easy it is to mistake performance for peace. To think applause means you're okay. To be surrounded by people and still feel like no one can hear you tapping the glass. I didn't release the footage. I didn't destroy it either. I buried it somewhere only I can find it, not out of fear, not anymore. But because one day, someone else might need to see it. Someone still inside. If this story felt familiar, if you've ever watched someone smile through something that was killing them, then don't let this end with you. Like the video? Share it. Subscribe. Not because it's content, but because silence is how this kind of thing survives. And Twitch didn't give me that drive, so I could bury it forever.